hummus, kombucha, whole wheat bread. What if the very foods you've been told are healthy to eat in midlife are actually fueling your bloating, brain fog, and stubborn weight gain? According to a 2020 review published in the Journal of Midlife Health, up to 40% of women in perimenopause report sensitivities to foods they've never had before. That's because hormone shifts can change how our bodies process certain proteins, sugars, and plant enzymes, turning our go-to favorites into hormone disruptors. In today's flashback episode, I'm peeling back the curtain on the surprising ways 10 so-called healthy foods can backfire in perimenopause and actually make our hormonal symptoms worse. So, top off that chai tea and get ready to rethink what's on your plate, because I'll be back to break it all down in less than 90 seconds. Welcome to Are You There Midlife? It's me, Monica. Hi, I'm Monica Topetti, wife, mom, health coach, and hormone imbalance survivor. And I'm on a mission to help women in midlife balance hormones naturally without drugs, doctors, or divorce. Are you tired of dealing with heavy, painful periods that look like a crime scene? Are you sick of struggling with anxiety, fatigue, or brain fog that... What was I just saying? Are you frustrated doing all the things to lose weight but still packing on pounds faster than a real housewife changes Birkins? Girl, you are in the right place. Join me each week as I spill the tea on what to expect in perimenopause and beyond. From IBS to insomnia, bloating to funky body odor, I'll unpack all the weird stuff happening inside our midlife bodies. Plus, give you the latest science and holistic solutions to manage it all. So ditch the Spanx and hop on board the Hot Mess Express. Let's do this. Hey, beautiful. Welcome back to the show. I can't tell you how many women I talk to in my coaching practice who genuinely believe that they are eating clean, healthy foods. Well, at least most of the time. But they have no idea that their healthy diet is actually sabotaging their hormones. I get it, because that was me. This episode really hits home because it was my issue with certain foods triggering hormone symptoms that started my entire perimenopause journey. It all began back in my early 40s when, out of nowhere, I started getting these weird stomach pains. Sometimes it was in my lower stomach, sometimes in my upper stomach, but it was just this dull pain that wouldn't go away. At first, I just brushed it off. But then the pain turned into bloating that literally made me look like I was 5 months pregnant. Like, no joke. My stomach would get so extended that I couldn't even button my jeans. And when I touched it, it felt hard. I had no clue what was going on. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I started to get heart palpitations. They seemed to show up after I ate as well, so I figured it must have something to do with my diet. So I cut out the takeout, I stopped eating ice cream at night, I cut way back on the pasta, and I loves me some pasta, but my symptoms did not get any better. So then I thought, okay, Monica, it's time to get really serious. I tossed out all the junk food. I focused on whole wheat bread and whole grain breads, meatless burgers, hummus, soy creamer in my coffee, yogurt every morning, all the foods that had worked for me in my 30s when really I was in the best shape of my life. And that's when things went completely off the rails. My symptoms got worse. The stomach pain, the bloating, the heart palpitations, it all escalated. I'll never forget one night sitting down to dinner with my husband, Rick, and I just started bursting into tears. And he looked at me and he's like, "What is going on?" And I was like starving, but I had no clue what was safe to eat anymore. And I was terrified of the pain and the palpitations that now seem to follow every meal. After months of dealing with this, sound familiar? You know, you just deny, and hope it'll magically all go away. I finally caved. I went to my doctor. I saw specialists. I even ended up in urgent care one night, convinced I was having a heart attack because my heart palpitations had gotten so bad. But all the doctors and all the lab tests said I was fine. So I started looking for my own answers. I did online research. I bought every book I could get my hands on. And little by little, I started piecing it together. I wasn't fine. Something was going on with my hormones. That's when I went through a rigorous elimination diet, 20 different categories of foods, until I finally uncovered the so-called healthy foods that were actually triggering my hormone symptoms. Today, we are wrapping up our Back to Hormone Basics series with a flashback episode from the Are You There Midlife Vault, an episode I originally recorded way back in April 2024, where I unpacked the surprising connection between our diet and our hormones. Now, if you've missed any part of this series, be sure to check out episodes 86 through 94, where we covered the first 5 root causes of hormone imbalance in midlife. In today's episode, I'm going to walk you through the 6th root cause, diet, specifically food sensitivities, what they are, why they happen, and how they can disrupt your hormone health. Plus, I'm sharing 10 so-called healthy foods that could be making your symptoms worse. So, if you're in perimenopause and dealing with IBS, IBD, bloating, allergies, brain fog, eczema, headaches, nausea, acid reflux, stomach pain, joint pain, or even unexplained weight gain, you're definitely going to want to stick around. Let's get started, beginning with, so what's a food sensitivity anyway? To begin with, we have to understand what a food insensitivity or food sensitivity is. In simple terms, a food sensitivity is an adverse reaction after consuming a particular food. Makes sense, right? Do not confuse this with a food allergy. A food allergy is caused by an immune response to a particular food or beverage. The cause of a food sensitivity is really related to a digestive issue. For instance, you might be lacking a certain digestive enzyme, or you might have other digestive causes like phytochemicals in a pesticide on your food, hormones in a food, or even chemical additives in foods and beverages. Again, these are not allergies. So it's important to understand that even though you may have eaten a particular food for years and had no reaction, food sensitivities are gradual. They can actually take years to develop. And if you have an underlying hormonal imbalance, that makes you even more susceptible. What causes a food sensitivity? Well, for the most part, food sensitivities showing up around the age of 40 or so when you're hitting perimenopause are usually caused by fluctuating hormones, in particular estrogen. Now, estrogen has very inflammatory properties inherent in its makeup. And what's good about that is it can actually help us protect ourselves against certain food reactions. But when estrogen starts to fluctuate, we can experience an inflammatory response or sensitivity to a food or beverage that never caused us any issues before. Lucky us. Estrogen can also affect our gut motility. And gut motility refers to how food moves through our digestive tract. That's why some foods in perimenopause can suddenly cause bloating, stomach pain, constipation, or other digestive issues if the food in question is affecting that motility. Other hormonal imbalances that can cause a food sensitivity are elevated cortisol levels, adrenal fatigue, or even a impaired thyroid. This can impair your digestion and increase the likelihood of developing a food sensitivity. The biggest aha moment amongst many of my clients in my Own Your Shift program is the realization of what seemingly healthy foods may actually be contributing to their hormonal imbalance. And so I'm going to give you a list of, not an all-encompassing list by any means, but I'm going to give you a list of some of the top 10 quote-unquote healthy foods you may be eating that may be actually causing you hormonal chaos. Are you ready? Okay. Number 1 and number 2, I'm going to kind of group together. They are cottage cheese and yogurt. Yep. Who would have thunk it, right? We have to first realize that there's a difference between a low-calorie food versus a hormone-disrupting food. Both cottage cheese and yogurt are high in protein, so a lot of people will think, oh, those are healthy foods for me. But when we're talking about cow dairy in particular, and both of those foods fall into the dairy family, there are a few separate issues inherent in cow dairy that contribute to a food sensitivity. Number 1, cow dairy contains casein, and casein is a protein that can often be hard to digest, even with people who don't have a hormonal imbalance. They also contain lactose, and a lot of people, I know I do, lack an enzyme called lactase, which is needed to actually break down and digest lactose. That's why sometimes you can eat cottage cheese or yogurt or ice cream and maybe get like a bloated stomach or gas or something like that. So that usually is related to either the casein or the lactose. Now, this is where we get into kind of the hormonal component. Dairy also contains a hormone known as insulin-like growth factor 1. And what this does is it increases the production of testosterone and estrogen in our body. So if we already have higher than normal levels of estrogen or higher levels of estrogen to progesterone, this can actually contribute to one of the most common hormonal imbalances for perimenopausal women, known as estrogen dominance. This insulin-like growth factor 1 can also increase testosterone. Now, ladies, we all have testosterone. In fact, it is the highest level hormone in our entire body. We just have a lot less than men do. But what happens when we get more testosterone than we need? Well, then we start to develop symptoms of high testosterone, like acne, facial hair, weight gain in our stomach, and even male pattern baldness. Oh boy, it's a party. That brings us to number 3 and number 4 of the seemingly healthy foods that may be sabotaging your hormones, and that is whole wheat and whole grains. Now, for some of you, this may not be such a shocker, especially if you are familiar with celiacs or gluten intolerance. But suffice it to say that wheat in the 20th century is not like the wheat produced 50 years ago. It's grown really quickly with pesticides, and that can cause a lot of digestive issues. In fact, So many people, not just women and women with hormonal imbalances, but so many people in general have such a negative reaction to the family of gluten proteins found in wheat, oats, corn, rice, rye, and barley that the World Health Organization has recommended screening the entire general population for food sensitivities. Yeah. Grains can unfortunately be found in a variety of easily consumable packaged foods. That includes bread, tortillas, cereal, crackers, cookies, and even processing additives. The number 5th food on the list might come as a shock to you, especially if you like your trail mix, is dried fruit. Yeah. If you like to snack on trail mix containing raisins, dried apricots, or apples and think you're being healthy, you might not want to continue that habit because dried fruits, number 1, are super high in sugar. I mean, think about it. All of the water has been dehydrated from the fruit. And so it's a very intensive concentrate of the fruit itself, which only increases the sugar. And increased sugar can lead to issues like blood sugar imbalances and insulin resistance, which speaking in English means weight gain. Secondly, many dried fruit snacks contain sulfites, and these sulfites actually disrupt the detoxification of excess estrogens in your body. So if you're already dealing with estrogen dominance, dried fruits will only make your symptoms worse. Number 6 on our list is meatless burgers. Now, not all, but most meatless burgers are made from a blend of soy. And soy is a powerful phytoestrogen containing food that contains a component called isoflavones. Now, isoflavones actually mimic estrogen in the body. Your body has no way of knowing whether it's a naturally occurring estrogen like produced in your ovaries or that it is an estrogen from a plant. And so what happens is consuming these isoflavones actually increase the overall estrogen levels in your body and again contribute to estrogen dominance in perimenopause and even in menopause. Number 7 on our list is hummus. Now, hummus is made from chickpeas, and chickpeas is a plant that is part of the legume family. All legumes contain something called lectins, and lectins essentially are these built-in bodyguards for the plant. Animals have teeth and claws, plants have lectins, and this chemical compound is actually designed to repel insects. Makes sense, right? But it's so powerful that humans actually can't digest it. And so when your gut and your liver is acting optimally, you're not dealing with hormonal imbalances, and your body is in homeostasis or in balance, you can pretty much tolerate these lectins and just kind of pass them through your system. But if you're dealing with a compromised gut, liver detoxification issues, or hormone imbalance, these lectins can be slippery suckers, and they are often a frequent source of food sensitivity. Other lectin-containing legumes include beans, peas, lentils, also most grains, edamame, which is soy, right? Miso, white potatoes, among others. Number 8 on our seemingly healthy food list is citrus fruits, and number 9 is kombucha, and I'm putting them all together for a reason. Certain foods tend to cause food sensitivities in women dealing with specific hormonal imbalances. And that's why I've grouped citrus fruits and kombucha together. Because in women with adrenal dysfunction, there's a class of foods called histamines or histamine liberators that can actually cause an inflammatory response in the body. What happens is the plant that contains the histamines releases the excess histamines, and that triggers somebody with adrenal dysfunction. Other foods that fit into this category besides citrus fruit and kombucha are other fermented foods like vinegar and beverages and all other high histamine containing foods. And lastly on our list, number 10 of seemingly healthy foods that may be causing you hormonal chaos is salsa. Yes, you thought dipping your veggies in salsa was safe? Well, maybe if you don't have a food sensitivity, but if you are experiencing symptoms of fatigue, slow metabolism, constipation, intolerance to cold, unexplained weight gain, you may be dealing with an impaired thyroid. And women with thyroid issues can really be sensitive to the alkaloids contained in tomatoes. Tomatoes are a nightshade vegetable, so other vegetables that fall into this category include peppers, eggplants, and white potatoes. So how do you know which foods might be triggering your hormonal symptoms? Well, that's exactly what I can help you figure out, starting with my free hormone symptom profile assessment. Are you tired of going out to dinner and not knowing which foods are going to set you off? Are you gaining weight despite ditching sugar and eating clean? Do you suspect you have a food sensitivity and want to finally connect the dots between what you're eating and how you feel? Then head on over to bit.ly/take my hormone quiz right now, because this assessment is a total game changer. First, it's going to tell you whether you have a hormone imbalance or not. Now, forget what your lab work says. My lab work said everything was fine, but normal is not optimal. And this assessment evaluates your symptoms long before they show up in your blood work. Second, it's going to reveal your main hormone imbalance so you can finally focus in on the solutions that are right for you. It's quick, it's easy, and did I mention it's free? And it's already helped more than 1,900 women and counting get to the bottom of their symptoms and uncover which hormone imbalance is behind their brain fog, bloating, or weight gain. Look, you know your body. You know something's off. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start taking back control of your health, head to bit.ly/take my hormone quiz or click the link in today's show notes. So there you go. What no one tells you about food sensitivities in midlife, plus 10 so-called healthy foods that may be actually making your hormone symptoms worse. If this episode hit home with you too, can you take 10 seconds right now to subscribe and leave me a review on Apple Podcasts? A 5-star review really helps boost the show's visibility and allows me to attract amazing guests and holistic health experts that are worth your time and your earbuds. Then join me back here next week for a brand new podcast series, What I Wish I Knew at 40, Perimenopause Red Flags, just in time for fall. Until next time, wishing you health, happiness, and fewer hot flashes. Hey friend, can I call you friend? Because I already feel like we're friends in my head. Did this podcast teach you something, make you laugh, or feel less like an alien? If so, I would be so incredibly grateful if you could take just 60 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe. That is the number one way you can thank me and support the show. Until next week, stay cool and keep away from sharp objects.